I am here with Matchroom CEO. We're in person this time. It's not online. At the press conference for Harper and Dixon up in the lovely freezing cold Sheffield. How are you, Frank?
It's much colder in Sheffield, isn't it? I don't know what's going on.
It was boiling.
Yes, should have worn a few more layers.
Should have worn a few more layers. I'm going to quickly, let's touch on this card because that's what we're here for. I know you've got a busy schedule. So talk to us about this card, Frank.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you, first and foremost, it's been a bit of a nightmare. We're here though. We finally got here. It's changed a few times. The headlines changed a few times, but I'm just glad we could get it up and running. And we're just 2 days away now. Rhiannon Dixon, Terry Harper's a brilliant fight. You know, a fight that respect to both of them for taking it. You know, obviously Terry much more experience in the pro ranks than Rhiannon Dixon. Rhiannon coming off the back of winning that world title. But they both wanted a big fight, and this was the fight that they wanted to make happen next. So excited for that one. Peter McGrail back out as well against Brad Foster, you know, another fighter, very experienced. But Peter coming off the back of that loss against Jericho Quinn, you know, building back up that confidence, and, you know, sets up, you know, if he can come through this, sets up a massive fight for the European title next year. So we'll see what happens there. A whole host of young talent as well. George Liddard's on the card, Jimmy Sains, Ibrahim Spider Sullivan, Josh Babb, Conan Murray. You've got Galauya Fly as well in an 8-round fight before his massive showdown against Galauya Fly in November. So a great card full of talent. Like I say, for us, the focus was always to ensure that the fighters got the opportunity to fight. You know, they trained very hard, they worked very hard, and when the show kept on, it would have been quite easy to go, do you know what, this isn't meant to be. You know, it's cost a lot of money, but obviously for us, the focus is making sure the fighters stay active. And also have to say a big thank you to our broadcaster, DAZN, because without their support in moments like this, it wouldn't be possible. So, you know, it's although not the show it was, still a great night of boxing. How you doing? How are you? Actually, I missed out big team Giorgio Vizioli, who is just knocking people out for fun, delivering left, right and centre. You know, and look at these two pretty boys coming in. They were late because they had to go and get their makeup done. All right, how are you? All right? All good? Yeah, look at them, like models these two.
We love it, but like you said, it's cost a lot of money. Should have been on another card, but we are here. Yeah. But what I've just noticed, you can see the fighters coming in and they're full of smiles, they're happy because it's like, look, we're still getting our chance. They've obviously spent their money, training, camps. I get it, everyone spends a lot of money, but what you've done is you've kept the show going. When you could have said, you know what, guys, we're going to have to pause it. We're going to spread you out between the next, 4 months, the next quarter.
But it's not the, look, for us, you know, with so many shows, we always want to focus on giving the fighters the opportunities, you know, and that was very much the focus for us. And like I say, I think I said it just before, without DAZN actually backing, you know, moments like this, because they could easily say, do you know what, let's leave it. It's not the show we signed up for. But they supported us in this moment to deliver this card. And, you know, fight fans are going to say, it's not the show it was. No, it isn't the show it was. You know, unfortunately, the show's changed and we worked very hard. And the focus was for us, like I say, to keep it on and keep it up and running. And delighted we could do that.
Do you find it sometimes, and I think that kind of touches on a little bit of the public frustration, when the fighters, these like sort of like next gen fighters, are looking at the public feedback and they're moaning and they're saying, oh, the card is not what it should be, I'm not happy with it. What about those fighters that may get demotivated by those negative comments because, you know, they've got hope and aspirations, dreams to become champions themselves, and then you've got the public saying, well, actually, that card's rubbish.
Look, I think, you know, that people spread a narrative of what they want to be seen, you know, people saying about the UK schedule, for example. It's not the UK schedule. It should have been. August 24th should have been Castro against Prograis. You know, an amazing fight in boxing. September 28th should have been Dalton Smith against John Fernandez with Johnny Fisher on the card as well. Unfortunately, out of all of our control, it didn't happen. You know, so yeah, look, but people are entitled to their opinions. Doesn't mean we have to agree with it. But it's what keeps, especially boxing Twitter or boxing X going round, and people, you know, keeps people entertained.
Definitely does. Speaking about entertainment, we've gone through today. We've got to touch back on yesterday. A very interesting press conference. I'll use that word. There wasn't a dull moment, put it that way.
No, there wasn't a dull moment. You know, I think sometimes the what maybe does you views, not just you, but in the media views, doesn't always help the sport of boxing in a sense of, yesterday we were there to celebrate an unbelievable show, unbelievable card, with one of the best fights in boxing taking place with Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. You know, probably a fight that amongst the casuals doesn't quite have the following or the respect that it deserves. You know, it is probably the best fight in boxing this year in the sport of boxing. And without Riyadh season, it's a fight that wouldn't be happening. That is, you know, like you can say that about some fights. This is a fight that wouldn't be happening without Riyadh season's backing. And it was a bit like last week as well. Last week there was a lot of talk about all the, you know, back and forth, and not so much about the fights. You know, so I think as much as it's good for views, as much as it may be good for people buying into a narrative, sometimes it can take away from the reality of what we're all here for, you know. But again, I've been part of maybe that problem at times and saying things about people. But I think it's just when there's amazing moments in the sport, we got to celebrate them, and sometimes they get taken away by other moments that aren't so important.
Definitely, I'd say not important, but what I would say from a fan's perspective, it brings eyes to the sport.
Yeah.
I understand it may not be ideal, it may not be politically correct, I understand that, but what it does is it gets the fans talking. Yesterday after the press conference, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, it blew up. There was screen recordings, videos. There was obviously later interviews on TalkSport, then there was statements released, and it was all of this. Like I said, it might not be ideal, however,
Gets people talking.
And it's got more eyes on that fight, like you said. If it wasn't necessarily for people that aren't hardcores, they wouldn't appreciate that. But now all eyes are on that, thanks to certain things in the presser.
Part and parcel.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. It's never going to change. And like I say, we're all guilty of it. I think sometimes, though, when we talk about, like yesterday, it was about an amazing fight. And that's sort of the thing. Normally it would be the press conference yesterday for Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, the best fight in boxing, is actually, well, it was all a bit of a show yesterday, wasn't it, at the press conference?
But the thing is, we'll never forget it. But I get it. It's a rock and a hard place. You guys have got a job to do, which is to promote your fighters, promote the sport. But me, just sitting from a fan's point of view, sometimes these things, even Frank going off at the top table when he was talking about, obviously, people being ungrateful. Us Brits will moan about anything. We're terrible at that. We'll
true.
Find faults in anything.
Yeah.
So even with him, like literally ripping into people, saying, well, don't watch it then. That started the entertainment, and then obviously we know where that ended up. Not dwelling on that then, talk about, obviously, we've got Matchroom, Boxer, and obviously Frank Warren Promotions working together. I've got to ask, how is that going? We've saw various videos. I don't tend to do all of this stuff because I'm not interested in it. But on a business level, how's it working? Because I think Boxer's got 4 fighters on there. I think you've got 4 as well.
Yeah, look, the communication really between us and Boxer is quite limited, really. You know, look, it's a Riyadh season event. They take away from the politics, they bring it together and put on a great night of sport. You know, Queensbury obviously very much involved with the running of the event, you know, and they're really the operating partner, a bit like what we did in LA when we had that show there, you know, and it's about talent and the fighters and putting on the best possible fights. So, you know, it's not about politics, not about individuals and promoters, you know. Everyone's view of each other is quite public. Can't really shy away from it.
But I like that honesty, though.
Yeah, no, I know. But
fair.
You know, I've been very honest, maybe to the detriment of what people's opinion of me is, but I won't change my opinion or view without reason. But yeah, the fights are happening, the show's happening, you know, and we have to thank Riyadh season for that, that fights are being made without the politics. But, you know, at the end of the day, fights can be made, even if you don't get on with someone. I keep going back to the point that you don't have to like someone.
Business is business, right?
Not all of us are going to like each other at the end of the day. We're all very different people, you know, all got different personalities. Some people just don't get on. That's the way of life. So you have to just work with it and work through it. It's been around in the sport for a long time. I think right now, boxing is in a great place, thanks to Riyadh season, and he's going to make relationships even, you know, outside of Riyadh season events better. And you know, we're all aligned for the fact that we want to deliver the best possible opportunities for our fighters. That's all it comes down to.
That's the common goal between all of you.
Yeah, well, majority of us, yeah.
One thing I will ask, Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, the creme de la creme, the elite of the light heavyweights. Frank, in your business opinion, I'd say there's a disparity, there's a wide gap between that and the next in line. When you think, when you think about who you'd like to put in with the winner, say if you controlled that, when you look at the talent that we've got, maybe in the UK, because I'm biased to the UK, who would you like to put in against the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol as a UK fighter?
Well, I think one of the names you go back to is probably Joshua Buatsi. You know, we've had our differences in the past, but he's someone who's, I think he's WBO interim champion now, which thus in turn probably mandatory, WBA #1, I believe, you know, highly ranked. Whether he'll want to take that fight, I don't know, you know. But you look at other, you know, like Anthony Yarde's put up a great showing against Beterbiev when he boxed him, you know. Who else was there? Lyndon Arthur obviously fought Dmitry Bivol. I think Craig Richards, if he could build his way back up into a position, you know, he's got to get a big win now against one of those names. But I think Joshua Buatsi is probably the name that sort of springs to mind from the UK.
And the last question from me is Anthony Joshua. What is next from him? We saw his lovely "I'm feeling positive about everything," which, you know, that's Anthony Joshua. That's what he does. But what happens next? Is it the rematch? What's happening? Is he going to lie down and have a rest and think about it?
Look, it was 4 days ago. As always, Anthony Joshua is you know, wants the biggest challenges in the sport. He's shown that time and time again. You ready for me? Sorry, shown that time and time again. Sorry, I've got to do the press conference. But he will want the biggest challenge out there. Now, he's never shied away from any fight. And he doesn't always get the respect for that. But I think he will decide very soon what he wants to do. Like I say, it's 4 days ago. It's not long, but you know, knowing him as a person, he'll want real challenges because he's done everything in the sport.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.